I'm going to be telling you guys 10 possible things that might happen to us in the future due to evolution. Evolution is a very slow process, so if any of this stuff will happen, which most of these things probably will, it'll happen in a very, very long time, because evolution is a very, 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 very slow process. But anyways, 10 things. Let's start. Number 10 is a weakened immune system. Why, you may ask? It's pretty simple. This is a fact. This part of it is a fact. As time has been progressing, obviously we've developed more and more and more medications. So, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, whenever we got a disease, we would actually blame it on demons or some stupid shit like that. But as time's been progressing, we've been inventing more medications, and because we've been inventing more medications, we've been relying on them more. And because we've been relying on them more, our bodies aren't as adapted to fight it off on its own. That's why, believe it or not, if you have something, as long as it's not something that can kill you, like, for example, if it's like strep throat or cold or a flu or whatever, it's usually better to just go without the medications, because if you keep relying on the medications over and over, again, this part's a fact too, your body will just be used to the medications, and it won't be as good at fighting off on its own. Some experts and people believe that we might actually get so reliant in the future due to medications that our bodies won't even create hormones or whatever, any of the stuff that we need organically. It'll just rely completely on medications. Because it's a fact that the more you rely on medications, usually the worse it is at fighting off the sickness on its own, because it's used to just the help from the medication and not fighting it off on its own. One good way that you can think of it is imagine a future in which, with the help of supplements, you can regulate hormones to maximize your well-being. It's suggested that over time, your body would become so dependent on the additional hormones and medications to the point where it stops doing it for itself, and it'll stop making it organically because it's so used to the supplements. The process which creates hormones for survival, since your body will have enough thanks to the supplements. Because it'll have enough because of the supplements, it'll think that it doesn't even need to create it anymore on its own. Then after, another way to think of it is to continue this on, is that after tens of thousands of years, humans will likely evolve to the point where hormones are no longer created organically in your body. Taking this even further, if we extend and continue to use more external acids, internal acids, we'll inherently will be responsible. We'll use those more for survival. So basically, my point is, we'll keep using more and more medications, and we'll get so adapted to it, our body will be tricked into thinking it doesn't need to make it on its own. And now that might sound crazy, but it's actually very pretty reasonable, actually, because there's actually factual evidence we did used to have stronger immune systems than we do now. And our immune systems, it's a fact that they have been getting weaker over time. And there's really nothing to suggest that it won't stop happening unless we stop making all the medications that we make now, or at least not prescribe them to people as much and just give them at least a chance to fight it off on its own. Number 9 is muscle atrophy, or also known as muscle weakening. Because of the, believe it or not, technology has an extremely high relevance to how strong and how much muscle we have. Why, you ask? Well, it's because of how much we rely on technology. This is also a fact. We used to be our ancestors were much stronger than us. That might also be part of the reason why apes are strong. I mean, I'm sure genetically, yes, it's mainly why apes, like gorillas and stuff, are stronger, but another part of it could be because they don't use machinery to pick up the stuff that we need. We used to do all the stuff on our own, so our muscles were a lot stronger, but they've shortened slower and slower. They've been weakening, and there's really nothing to suggest that won't stop happening unless we stop using all the machinery that we do to lift all the heavy shit that we could do. Basically what I'm saying, and plus technology, just like medicine, is also improving over time. And I mean, you really can't stop technology. Of course, it's going to get more and more advanced, so we're going to need our strength less and less and less, and we're going to use our strength less and less and less. Our strength's probably just going, as long as this continues, it's pretty much factual that we will become weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker over time. Now, the next one is number 8. It's monoethnicity. Monoethnicity. I don't know if I pronounced that word right, but basically we'll all become one race because as evolution goes by, people might lose more and more and more of their facial distinguishes, traits and stuff of them. And as they lose more, we'll become more and more similar to the point where we might become one race. Number 7, height increase. Now, this one's kind of very reliable because it's a fact that our ancestors were shorter than us, and we're getting taller and taller and taller over time. Now, it's a theory if this will continue on till the evolution ends, till the extinction of our species, but it's pretty much factual because there's nothing saying that it won't continue. Now within like the last 150 years or so, we've increased in height by about 15 centimeters, which I know is not that much, but I mean, as time goes by and by and by, it'll get huge difference eventually. There's several minor reasons to this, but honestly, the main reason to this is because we have more nutritional value and availability to us. So, basically, the more food a child eats, the more energy it'll have, and the more it'll grow, and we're able to eat more food, and we have more nutritional value than our ancestors did. That's the main reason. Well, most likely the main reason why, as if to why we are growing taller and taller and taller over time. Next one is loss of hair. Now, this is mainly in women because most men find more women attractive if they're not super super hairy, and as long as they don't have as much hair in various of their body parts, and because this gives the woman a sexual advantage if they have less hair. And evolution works by eliminating the inferior trait and processing the primary one that we need. So basically, it tries to eliminate the traits that we don't need, and adding on traits mutate DNA to create traits that we do need that are useful to us. So lots and lots of hair is not useful to them, sexually wise, but it gives them a sexual advantage if they have less hair. So evolution will probably originally eliminate so much hair to the point where they don't have any hair anymore. Now, this will probably happen in men too, but it'll probably, in order for permanent change to happen, where our hair is completely gone, body hair wise, for men, it'll probably happen slower because there's not as much social pressure on a guy, because guys are a little bit more judgmental on how hairy a woman is than a woman is to how hairy a man is. There's more sexual and social pressure on them, so it'll probably happen slower. It'll happen, but it'll happen slower for men, but it'll happen faster for women, most likely. Number 5 would be brain wiring. Technology, this is another technology related one. Technology has been proven to have a very huge effect on how our mind works. The human brain is used to it's a machine that's kind of like a machine that's trying to use it's like a machine that's striving for maximum efficiency. And typically it remembers where information is stored rather than what the information is itself originally. But because now the technology didn't used to exist really. We used to have to just remember stuff in our head. But now we use so much technology, if we forget it, we can just Google where it's from. And now because of all the technology, it's a lot easier to, think back. Is it usually easier to remember information, facts that you learned, or is it usually easier? It's obviously, it's a lot harder to remember where you got it from. Like if you read something from several books, it's easier to remember what the information you learned is, but it's harder to remember where it came from. That used to be the other way around because we didn't have technology. Now, because we have technology, if you forget where it came from, you can just Google it. So it's kind of losing our memory, and it's also decreased our concentration rate by quite a bit, actually. Well, not a lot, but over the years it'll become a lot eventually. Number 4 would be smaller teeth and loss of wisdom teeth. Now, the way evolution works, it'll usually try to eliminate the features the traits that you don't need, and the ones that are harmful. It just tries to mutate DNA to help you strive. And obviously, we used to have to need large teeth to eat our food and stuff. But now, because we can just cook food and stuff, we don't need the large teeth. So it'll actually become smaller. And it's actually been proven within the past 100,000 years or so, our teeth actually used to be twice as large. That's not a theory, that's a fact. So it's already a fact that continually, just very slowly, our teeth is getting smaller and smaller and smaller because we don't need large teeth as much as we used to. We don't even really need wisdom teeth at all. So it's actually a fact that it's already happening. It's a theory that if it'll stop or it'll continue. But I mean, if you think about it, can you really think of any reason why it'll stop? Why they'll stop getting shorter and shorter and smaller and smaller? I mean, some people think eventually we might not even need it at all anymore. Because of technology, cooking and stuff, a lot of people think that helps, but trait-wise, I mean, increase in technology is actually more harmful to us than it actually is beneficial. If you really think about it. Number 3, loss of toes. Before humans even walked upright on our toes, they were actually used for grappling onto tree branches and such. Much like our hands. We use that for our hands now, but we used to need that for our feet. And remember earlier, as I said, evolution eliminates the traits that you don't need. Well, the toes that we have now, we don't need them like this at all. Why, you may ask? It's because, how do I put this? We used to use our feet for grappling on this stuff. But we now use our hands to do that. And better way to put this is that as we have come to rely less on climbing and more on walking, our toes have shrunk slowly throughout time to their current size. And with our feet continually growing shorter, with our feet it's just been shorter and shorter and shorter, and now obviously our feet aren't really capable of grappling onto branches or anything really, because now we use our hands for that. Now, because of that, evolution is actually factually taking steps to rid us of our smaller toes, because the big toe is actually what we use our feet now for walking and balance, but we don't really need most of the small toes to do that. It's the big toe that does the balance, and it's probably going to try to eliminate the toes, which is the small toes that we don't really rely on or need. So we'll probably lose our 5th toe eventually. In fact, there is factual evidence that there are animals, not theory, there's actually animals that have lost toes for the same reason as why ours is shrinking. For example, one example of them would be that a horse used to have more than 2 toes. So it's happened in horses. It's already happened in horses for the same reason. So there's really no reason why it wouldn't happen to us as well. Now, the next one, this one's argumentable. Large skull or a small skull, or it might not even change at all. Now, there's 2 arguments to that. One argument is that people believe that if a skull gets too large, when the baby is born, they won't survive the birthing process, because the head will be too big. However, there's also other evidence is that there's actually certain sections and operations these days that are providing more and more opportunities for big heads children to have C-sections and to survive the birthing process. So they're actually currently working on C-sections that will allow people with bigger heads, because everybody has, some people have a smaller head, bigger head. Some people need a C-section. They're improving upon those to where they can have bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger heads in case this happens. And in fact, there are actually some people that believe this is a theory, not a fact, that believe that for big-headed children, they believe that C-sections might actually eventually be safer than natural birth, leading to the possibility that small-headed children that are naturally delivered will be less likely to survive the birthing process than a large-headed children that's required to have a C-section operation. But, however, such dependence on that, it would actually be pretty risky or possibly dangerous for humans. Because a huge-headed human, if they lost, if yes, let's argument and say that this is true. Yes, eventually now C-sections are healthier, but if we lose the ability to give birthing traits, if we lose the ability to have C-sections, and our human heads are too big to have natural birth, extinction could happen. But then again, natural selection, evolution, also natural selection, is known for eliminating unneeded traits. So the head would probably eventually shrink back to a size where they can be born. Argumentatively. And like I said, that's an argumentative subject. Nobody really knows that for sure. Now, number one would be self-improvement. How, you may ask? Well, there's no factual evidence that we'll be able to do this. I mean, I don't even think we can do this at all, but who knows? It's the future and it's technology. We've invented all kinds of things that we didn't used to think possible. We used to think they thought trains weren't possible, and now there's trains. They used to think cars weren't possible, planes weren't possible. So technologies can be very, very unpredictable. Even if so-called experts say it's not possible, it doesn't mean that it is. But anyways, to get to the point, who knows? Maybe in the future we'll have the technology to create evolution and create traits and genes that are beneficial to us. Instead of hoping for the best from evolution, we might be able to create it ourselves to self-improve our bodies in the beneficial way that we wish to. But again, I'm not saying that that's possible. I'm just saying technology in reality is pretty unpredictable. There's been all kinds of things that we said isn't possible that did happen. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my video on evolution, and have a good one. Bye.